the $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill is finally passed, and Texas governor is very, very unhappy today, and we'll look into why and what is really behind this. And also, the Biden administration will start engaging the top leaders in China starting next week. And what does that mean to us? And also, we are looking to briefly about the southern border crisis, what is brewing there. And finally, if we have time, we'll talk briefly about the VP, the Kamala Harris. What is she up to? She's doing something very unusual, okay? And finally, of course, there's this Wei's joke of the day. I'm your host, Wei Fang, and Michael.
I'm Kathy Zhang.
Okay, you're a Chinese-American journalist from San Francisco. All right, so let's just talk about this. The passing of the $1.9 trillion relief bill, is quite expected, right? So it's not really strictly a breaking news or anything like that. But still, we would just want to talk about what is really lying behind that and in relation to our founding principles, the value of this country. So basically, the angle that I want to cut in is that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was very, very unhappy. He said this $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief bill's methodology on state allocation has turned into a bailout for blue states. He said Florida is getting penalized, and he feels that this is fundamentally unfair. Why? He said instead of allocating the fund on the per capita basis, the state population, the allocation is based upon unemployment. So what does that mean? Because Florida has been holding on pretty well in the last 1 year, and they try to keep the business open, doing their best. As so far, they did not tap into any money of Florida's its own like a relief fund, right? So everything is managed well. In the meantime, in the blue state like California and New York, and there's a lot of blue state, blue county, blue cities. They are in deep red, financial red, that type of red. So now this money among the, in this whole package, $300 billion will be going to the state and the county and the city and the bailout to those local government. Is that right? What do you think? So this is one thing that he's not, not happy. And of course, we don't want to talk about, how the money go to the museum, go to the Kennedy, Performing Arts Center, or a U.S.-Canada bridge, which is nobody can cross today, and all those things, and a foreign aid. Okay, so really, in Chinese we call this 发国难财, meaning you make money, you make good money when there's a crisis. You make money. You make a profit when there's a big crisis of the country. This is a Chinese old saying, 发国难财. So really, if we look at this $1.9 trillion, it is 9% of it will be going to the COVID-19 vaccination and the related cost. All the others just all kinds of uses. But if we just look at Florida, right? Just think about that. Florida will get less money because they manage their state well. California will get more. A city called San Francisco, where Kathy and Wei happen to be in, we got $600 million. All right, so the city is in red and close to $700 million. So that one single allocation wipe out the deficit, most of 92% of the deficit. Well, as a citizen in this city, I should feel happy, but on the basis of a principle, we have to explore this. So Kathy, what do you, any comment?
Well, the thing is, just as there's a saying in Chinese, old saying is, if rather than you give someone a fish, but you would, better to teach him how to fish. For example, in San Francisco, why we had such a big deficit, because the government just keeps spending, right? The homeless, they spend how much? Like $4 to $5 billion, right? But they still cannot resolve this about 10,000 homeless people on the street, such a big issue. So but rewarding such kind of a local government with a big blank check to help them just simply wipe out the budget doesn't really help the people in San Francisco. And in California, they're gonna get $26.3 billion from this COVID-19 Relief Act. But actually, California is projecting a $15 billion surplus. That's according to California's representative. Not California. That's a California representative. So, but what they are saying is that they actually, even though they are in California, they are not happy about that because in California, the revenue is being higher than anticipated, largely because the wealthier Californians are not as affected by the coronavirus pandemic. However, for example, in Central Valley, the unemployment indeed very high. It's double the San Francisco number, and also people just struggling in those agricultural area. But they are not actually getting real help from this bill. So I think that's the real problem there.
Actually, I just want to go one step deeper. As I will study I interviewed this Professor Paul Skousen. I probably mentioned that before. And he wrote a book. He and his father, Cleon Skousen, wrote a book called The Leap of the 5,000, 28 Great Ideas That Changed the World. And to talk about the founding principles of the United States, basically behind the Constitution. And over there, it's just quite shocked me when I came across this, this sentence. This is a quote from one of the founding fathers. It says, doing welfare is unconstitutional or is against our Constitution. I said, what? What does that mean? Originally, that was just my reaction, because we got Social Security, we got Medicare, Medicaid, right? We got all those national level, federal level welfare program. Somebody has to take care of the poor and the sick, right? What's wrong with that? But the founding fathers said, doing welfare is unconstitutional. Okay, there are three problems for the federal government to do welfare. First, you reward the lazy and punish the diligent. Just look at Governor DeSantis. He tried very hard, worked very hard. It's not easy, not to lose money. And during this pandemic, he must have worked really, really hard to accomplish what he does. And while a city like San Francisco, they just spend money just like money from what? Just other people's money. And then they create this $700 million deficit. Wow, this relief bill come over and then just fill them all. So this is called a bailout, right? And how would Governor DeSantis feel about his effort? He probably next time he would think, maybe I should just relax a little bit, create a lot of unemployment. Maybe I can wait for a paycheck from the federal government, right? Of course, he won't be doing that. Okay, this is a good guy, but it would create the wrong incentive to people's work. This is one thing. Right. You reward the lazy. The second thing, as this $1.9 billion travel through the hands, go from hands to hands, how many opportunity for corruption? How many people will just write a proposal, just grab a few million or tens of $1 million for their own so-called nonprofit use, which they just grow a 10 or 20 full-time so-called nonprofit people, which has no accountability for the efficiency or the effect of the money. The second, corruption. The third, of course, it just burn out our national resource. Federal government have no way of manufacture wealth. What they can do, they print those money and they allocate them out, and then they have to pay interest for that. This is recorded in our national debt, the book, and then we have to pay for it in the future. How do we do that? Because the federal government have no way to manufacture anything. Right. They don't have wealth. They have to tax the future generations. So this is just squander our national resource. And a lot of countries are dragged down, destroyed, bankrupted by the big welfare system. And then now, but if we look at that, we need to help, with the poor and the people in need. What do we do in this pandemic time? So I really want to, in Chinese culture, there's this word called 救急不救穷. When I found that This principles very much, to really match up very well with the founding principles in the Post-Gaussen's book. 救济不救穷 means that you help rescue people in acute need, but you don't help with the poor. I don't know whether you get that. So you only help people in acute need because a hurricane hit. Somebody just, he lost everything. You need to come in and help him. Okay, that's just fine. But that kind of help is always limited for a short time, and you federal government wait until local community help first, county second, state third, and you are the final one. Okay, making sure you don't step forward, because for federal government coming in with a big sum of money, it's very easy to create those problems. Reward the lazy people, so they don't try harder. They don't try hard, and then create corruption. All right. So in this particular case, among this huge package, 9%, less than 9% were for vaccination purpose. That's probably what we need to spend. All the other museum, bridge, performing arts center, foreign aid, and whatsoever, those things does not have a place, let alone this bailing out the state and local government. However they run their city, their state, they shall be financially responsible for it. If they are in debt, they should declare bankruptcy. They need to, they need to, they need to check themselves, review their own work, and readjust the way of working. A federal government's check coming in and wipe out all the deficit will only encourage them to repeat the mistake that they made it before, right? So the federal money, relief money, shall be only used in very limited, well-defined area, nothing more and then nothing less. And this is the basic principle of the founding father. And then now we're far, far, far away from the founding principle behind our Constitution. That's why we print this $1.9 trillion, and increase our national debt to above our yearly annual GDP. Okay, we're going to pay a lot of interest every year going forward. That's where we are. So, yeah. Anyway, do you agree? I just want to know that whether you agree, and that's. I should make a disclaimer. Okay, look at this.
Right.
Look at this. First, please, can you just press the like? And while you got a minute, because I want to introduce you something. I received this hat. Okay, see this said commentator. I don't know who sent this. If you are watching us, can you just type it there? I will have Kathy watch the live chat and see whether we can find you. And thank you very much. Because I always say, if I put my commentator's hat, I started commentating, all right? And I think you heard that, and you order this, and send that to my office, and thank you so very much. This is great.
Yeah, this is actually took a long journey, right? It sent to our old office and then arrived in our new office. So probably the friend who just ordered this for us, just wondering, where is it, right? Why Wei's not wearing it?
Yeah, thank you very much for this. Yeah, very nice. Okay, appreciate that. Anyway, so let's move on to the next topic, which has to do with the Biden's policy, right, on China policy.
Right. And so the State Department today issued an announcement that the Biden administration, the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, and the National Security Advisor, Jack Sullivan, will meet with Chinese Communist government official in Alaska on March 18th. So the two officials they're going to meet will be Yang Jiechi, who is the director of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and Foreign Minister Wang Yi. And this will be the first formal in-person meeting between the two parties since Biden took the office. So in the statement by the Secretary of State, it was saying that the meeting will be actually held after the meeting between the Secretary of State Blinken and the two closest regional allies of the United States in Tokyo and Seoul, which means between March 15th and the 18th, Blinken will first travel to Japan and Korea to meet with these the leaders of those two countries. And this will mark his first visit to East Asia since taking office. and then he and Sullivan will travel to Alaska to meet with CCP officials. And the State Department said that they will discuss a series of issues with China. So what are the topics? There will be like 5 topics. One is about the pandemic. Then second, climate change. Third is the Chinese Communist government's position on the Hong Kong issue. And fourth is the Taiwan issue. The fifth is the Chinese Communist government's unnotified economic embargo against Australia. And the State Department said that the goal of this meeting is very clear, and which will, that includes the hopes and the plans for the domestic policies respectively, and also what are the international, regional, and the global goals. Yeah. In the meanwhile, President Biden will conduct the first leader-level Quad security talks, video conference on Thursday, tomorrow. So the 4 parties, are besides the United States, will be Australia, Japan, and India. These are, the 4 allies. And the Biden government official said that the focus of this meeting will focus on the technical aspects, and the core content is to reach an agreement with India, hoping to greatly increase the production of the vaccine capacity in India. And the Biden administration has stated that it hopes to find areas for cooperation with Beijing, while at the same time, it has not yet relaxed its tough attitude on trade, technology, security, and the other policies. Yeah. So, any comments?
Any comments? Let me put my comments hat on here. Okay, you could mess up the hair. I thank you very much for this, but I will think about how to use that. Anyway, so my advice, if Biden, if there's a chance that Biden could hear from me, and I want to quote from the former, president of the Republic of China, which is the Taiwan government, and when the CCP, extend its hand in the early 1980s, right, saying that, let's talk. And he said 3 no. He said 3 no. No in touch, no contact, and what is that? 不妥协. Okay, no contact, and no compromise, and no. Gosh, it's a shame. I need to find that out. Anyway, in short, he means that we don't talk to them at all. Okay, we just don't talk to them because the reason is really the CCP is not a normal type of evil. They're really, really, vicious. They're very cunning. They always say the best things. They never hesitate to paint a rosy picture, give a promise that really entice you. All right.
Okay, yeah, I found that that's a no contact, no negotiation, no compromise. Basically, it's just decouple, right?
Yeah, just decouple. Yes, exactly. That's what President Trump came very close to at the end of his term. Okay, if he would continue for another 4 years, he could have done that, right? So this is what he did, and just in hindsight, let's think about it, folks. It took a lot of courage. It took a lot of courage against all the pressure from the business circle, from the establishment, and because China hold what, like a $3 trillion U.S. Treasury bond, right? And then it's a big creditor. And then would that cripple or hurt U.S. economy? And would his election be endangered? What about the pressure from the Wall Street? But President Trump withheld all those pressure. Okay, he started the trade war. Actually, he did not start the trade war. He responded to the trade war that the CCP has been waging against the U.S. since 1980, early 1980. He's the first president to respond back. And then after all those the trade deal, the tariff, and so on and so forth. Think about it. Our economy is doing just as well. There's no loss. When we should not be afraid of the so-called retaliation of the CCP anyway in the beginning. But nobody can get rid of that fear. Only President Trump, because he did his U.S.-China, handling based upon moral value, based upon principles. He's not afraid of losing things or being hurt.
Yeah, let me add one thing is he not like other, especially those establishments. He is not bought by the CCP because he has some business in China, but comparatively it's just very little. I think that's also one of the reasons that he has really not being like controlled by the CCP money.
Yeah, and CCP, if you got a chance to deal with them in the future, which I hope you never do, and it's a very, very strange type of people. Okay, they look very professional. They dress in suit, speak good English, and appear to be professional, but in their mind, the key problem is they do not have moral value. That's not something valuable to them. Okay, because they're atheists. Atheist. They're atheist. If they can cheat and get away, they define that as a success. All right? They have no more sense of moral to pull them back on cheating. So they could promise anything to get what they need. And once they attain the advantage, they're gonna do the kill without any hesitation. So one example is like Hong Kong, right? Just remember that in 1997, they signed an internationally recognized treaty between China and Britain, saying that they're gonna protect the system there, capitalist system, for 50 years. And then only after 23 years, they just killed the whole thing. They shoot at the students and took them, thousands of them, into inland China, throw them into labor camp. They just disappear. They do not hesitate because they already got the city back. Britain let go because they trust their promise. So such thing happened time and again. So Biden administration is playing a very, very dangerous game, all right, by doing that, walking into their trap. And but indeed, Trump left a huge, heritage to them, huge advantage. Now it's the CCP need to back U.S. to give them some leeway, but it's still very, very dangerous because the way that CCP works, allow me to share this with you. I hope this is some of value. They're very, very cunning. Okay, they scan their opponents or the competitor. They scan their vulnerability, weakness in your character. Like for example, you want global warming, you want to curb global warming, right? You're afraid that China will not or CCP will not collaborate. That's your weakness. Okay, they can come in and take advantage of that weakness and demand something out of it. So if you are attached to anything, you feel you just cannot lose something. If you are afraid, I cannot confront with North Korea. When they fire the missile, we cannot stand the loss. That's your weakness. Then they can get hold of you. And
they treat, for the long time, they just treat North Korea as its as Professor Victor Hansen said, it's like the dog, the barking dog.
Mm-hmm.
It's like North Korea, just like a barking dog for the CCP. And, if the CCP wanted to bark, then it will bark. But when Trump came into office, that didn't work because Trump just didn't buy it. So you're talking about how the CCP just scan, all the people or its opponents' weakness. One thing, I don't know if everybody know, they actually kept a log of United States governors. Each governor, they will analyze each of them and rate them. Rate them to pro-Beijing or anti-CCP, give them grades so that they know how to deal with each one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I saw in the comments, one of our audience Ling was asking, so what is the solution with China? Yeah.
What is the solution with China? And actually, practically decouple with them. Don't expect you can gain anything or grab a piece of their so-called big market. Okay, just decouple with them, and then that will leave them no choice. Actually, China is very vulnerable right now. Okay, because of the work that President Trump did, they economically, funding-wise, they are quite They are in some type of destitute, and you may not believe this, you may not know this, but that's the case. But they would hide that. They would hide that. They would take advantage of the the weakness in Biden administration, lure them into the trap, and then finally get their win. So again, just like President Jiang Jingguo, who's the former president of the Republic of China or Taiwan, no contact, no negotiation, and no compromise. If you hold that line, CCP will wither to death. That's really the case.
Yeah, but the issue is if the administration could do that. So former Secretary Mike Pompeo is one of the main cabinet members of the Trump administration, who's hardcore against the CCP. So yesterday, he had an interview with the Central News Agency from Taiwan. He proposed 2 actions to counter CCP. He said first is to educate people around the world about what CCP is and what it's doing. And second, on that basis, he suggests to build a global anti-communist alliance. And also today, in his interview with Fox, he said that he actually is he's happy about the Quad security dialogue, but on the other hand, he's really has some concerns. He said for these leaders, meeting together is a big step forward, but what is more important than gathering together is what they will actually do and what action they will take to deal with the threat of the CCP. Yeah, so he said that the Trump administration had great courage and they were fearless. They are fearless. And he said that was the first government to counter the threat of CCP and against their actions against the people of Hong Kong. And so Pompeo said that, he's confident that the China policies during his tenure under Trump administration has indeed gained cross-party support, and he hopes that Biden administration will continue those policies.
Okay, back a little bit. The last piece about the post CPAC action. As you know, CPAC is supposed to be a conservative political action conference, right?
Right.
So what is the action afterwards? As you know that on the March 6th. Trump actually wrote a letter. It's called a cease and desist letter to the RNC, Republican National Committee, and the National, Republican Senatorial Committee, and the National Republican Congressional Committee. So basically the top 3 institutions of the Republican Party. And saying that you do not use my name, okay, to raise funds. You just cannot do that. That sounds very bold, right?
Right.
And very risky. Is it? Could that split the Republican Party? Because he's just really challenging the top 3 institutions. And as the end result, today is, okay, as we reported to you the day before, I think 5 establishment Republican senators will be retiring. Okay, they chose not to go along. And Mitch McConnell now saying that if Trump got the primary, win the primary in 2024, he will be supporting Trump completely. He's walking back completely from his really harsh criticism at the impeachment day. And Nikki Haley, as you remember, he said President Trump have no political viability after the January 6th. All right, and she's walking back, and then asking to reconcile with President Trump, but President Trump saying no, thank you, and then. But anyway, what I want to say is this: as a result, the RNC did not fight back. They said they respond in this way. They said we never use President Trump's name in fundraising, and if we do, we'll seek his approval. And then for the spring event of Republican fundraising, they moved that. They decided to move that event from a very, very good hotel in Palm Beach into Mar-a-Lago, into Trump's home. And so basically it's no surprising, right? It's not surprising to me because Trump has the 90% above approval from the inside the Republican Party. And the Republican Party, the Democrat Party has switched, right? Traditionally, Democratic Party is a party that safeguard or speak for blue collar and workers' right. And the Republican Party speak for the business, speaking for the business enterprise, because they create jobs. Through that, Republican Party think they can take care of workers that way. Now it's completely switched, and Democrat Party now is a big tech company, the global the globalist rich people's company, and then party. And the Republican Party now become the common people's party, right? So after 4 years, Trump's wave, the party changed big. Democrat Party lost their basis, in a certain sense, a big base, and Republican Party lost its establishment. All right, so they switch position. So really, the Republican Party, they just follow Trump. They follow Trump. And Mitch McConnell saw that. Nikki Haley saw that. The 5 senators to be retired saw that. So yeah, Trump is leading back the a reformed, realigned Republican Party back into the 2022, the midterm election.
Yeah, and really, in terms of how to deal with the CCP, maybe a step more further than the Trump's administration. Really, you have to stand up strong against the CCP, and then because whatever they try to do is to try to use your weakness, right? So yeah, you have to stand strong, and also I concur with the former Secretary of State Pompeo. Have to really educate everyone. So that's why we are doing this media. Try to share our knowledge, our experience with you, and hope that you will also share with your friends and families about the facts that we share with you, so that when you know what CCP really is, and then, because for a lot of, especially young people in the United States, they have never experienced, have such experience living under a socialist communist country. So they have certain fantasies or just read something from the books or told by the professors. But, we hope our personal experience will really add something that they can think twice. And so this is really the lessons we should learn and try to avoid it to be from happening in the United States.
Okay, if you or whoever don't get to know our personal experience, how about get to our joke?
Okay.
Joke of the day. Just think about, the joke is meant to tell you what it's like, right, in the communist China. And over there, if you, let's say, we know this PC thing, right, political correctness, push the political correctness that to the extreme, then that's a typical communist nation like China. Let me tell you a story. Largely it's true, okay? So the party, Communist Party, of course, they abbreviated the party. The party is asking a farmer, try to test the farmer's loyalty. He said, if you have 2 houses, would you be willing to give one of the house to the party? The farmer said, of course. Okay, so the party secretary was pretty happy. So if you have 2 cows, would you be willing to give 1 cow to the party? And the farmer said, yeah, of course. This is in the Cultural Revolution time, okay? And not today, not after American helped China modernize, right? That was back then in the typical pure communist nation. The party secretary was very happy. You can continue on. If you have 2 chickens, would you be willing to give 1 chicken to the Communist Party? And the farmer said, no.
Oh. So he's willing to give the house, give the cow, but not the chicken.
Yeah, so the party secretary was really, just puzzled. So what do you mean? You are willing to give a house and give a cow? You're not willing just to give a chicken to the party? How come? The farmer said, because I really have 2 chickens. Okay, you got that? Hope you get it, right? Okay, so people are willing to say anything to get their safety, right? And then when it really come to their chicken, no way.
Yeah, because they didn't really have 2 houses or 2 cows.
Right, and then a citizen. Okay, a citizen. This is in the city, not a farmer. Okay, he lost his parrot. The parrot was very smart. The parrot can learn to curse people and imitate people and say all kinds of things. So he's afraid, what if the national security guys got my parrot? What can I do? So he's so worried and just sleepless for 2 nights. And finally, he took money and published a statement on the local newspaper. The statement said, I lost 1 parrot, and besides, I never agreed to its political point of view. Political opinion. Okay, all right. Would that be good? Okay, thank you. Thank you for staying with us. Really appreciate it. And I know it's low time. And yeah, it's great to have you guys with us. Yeah.
Yeah, so appreciate you being with us. And so take care. We will see you on Friday then. Yeah, tomorrow I will probably publish a very good interview regarding the border issue, border crisis. So stay tuned.
Oh, wow. When Lin Kid said, wait, you should run for governor in California. Thank you. I got my Chinese audience asking me to run for the senator or the congressman and so on and so forth. I told them, how about I remain to be a kingmaker if I can make it. All right, you like good people. By the way, so our last Monday's video were censored, right? I think the reason is because we showed in the Capitol that shooting
footage.
The shooting footage. Because of that, okay, they censored us. You have to go through running through several hoops to get to our video. So our traffic was cut quite a bit by that. Anyway, so that's the way it is. But if you remember, just sign up, download SafeChat. Our channels are there. Over there, we grow what's the word? Unbridledly. And so we can grow there unhindered. So please just subscribe. Download, install it. I'll see you there.
Yes, subscribe to our channel there.
I think eventually, people will leave the platform that we are working on today. They will go to the other platform. Just take some time for the other platform to get better and get there. But we'll be free. We'll be free at last, right? Good night.
Good night. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.